There's been a lot of discourse on the GLP-1 federal lawsuit, a lot of times called the Ozempic lawsuit, about gastroparesis, one of the fileable injuries. Plaintiffs with gastroparesis are claiming that they were not adequately warned about the risks and dangers while taking GLP-1 drugs to develop gastroparesis. Many people will come out and argue and say, no, it warns for delayed gastric emptying, which when you look it up, sometimes it's synonymous with gastroparesis, and sometimes it'll explain that gastroparesis is what happens with very severe delayed gastric emptying. You can then end up with gastroparesis, which is stomach paralysis. I personally have spoken with people who have to carry around buckets because they're constantly vomiting. They've had to get gastric stimulators. They've had to get feeding tubes, and it's ruined their life. And even after they've stopped taking GLP-1s, the damage is done. Sometimes it can be reversible. A lot of times it's permanent. It's, again, case-by-case basis, of course. So they're saying we weren't adequately warned, and other people will say, well, GLP-1s, that's how they work. It's delayed gastric emptying, so obviously gastroparesis is a risk. Now, past anybody's back and forth debate on that, the federal judge in charge of this case has declared that gastroparesis is a fileable injury. However, she has since now made rulings on what's necessary for gastroparesis claims. So in an August 15th order, Judge Karen M. Marston, the federal judge in charge of the GLP-1 case, has clarified which medical tests plaintiffs must provide to prove their case in court. So plaintiffs who say they developed gastroparesis will need to present a, quote, properly performed gastric emptying study. And this means that plaintiffs will have to show by way of medical test that they have gastroparesis. This is pretty common anyway. Some patients hoped to file this lawsuit based on symptoms that would be sufficient enough to file a case. However, that's not going to be the case per this order. And I think it's a good thing to kind of keep things very organized. This order provides people harmed by Ozempic and other GLP-1s like Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound with clear expectations and a clear path forward to pursuing a settlement and compensation. There have not been settlements yet. This is still an ongoing lawsuit. If you would like to check out lawsuittracker.org, you can see if you qualify or read up more on this litigation. There are a multitude of different injuries that qualify for this. Gastroparesis is one of the main injuries, but there's also bowel blockages, blindness, specifically NAION, N-A-I-O-N, where you go suddenly permanently blind, typically in one eye, in rare cases both eyes. And then there's also plaintiffs suing for blood clots, deep vein thrombosis or DVT, or pulmonary embolisms, which are blood clots of the lungs. Again, please feel free to check out lawsuittracker.org if any of this may pertain to you or a loved one. Thanks.